No more. Almost there. We are there. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to those streaming online. We're going to sing hymn number 425. He keeps me singing, also known as Jesus, 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 sweetest name I know. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Alice. Thank you, June. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. You know, if you're a husband and a father, there's 3 dates you better never forget. One is your wife's birthday, which I didn't forget, but I forgot to get a card. Mother's Day, better not forget that day. No, I didn't forget that. And your anniversary. Today is mine and Trish's 52nd anniversary. And she's put up with me for 52 years. And actually, we dated, 2 years before that, babe? Almost 2 years, if not 2 years. So we've known each other a while. So, but anyway, I just thank you, babe. I love you. Oh, so, all righty. Well, that announcement. Okay, let's see here. What do we got going on? Okay, November 22nd, Thanksgiving bag giveaway. So I thought we'd already done. Please bring food donations by the 19th so that bags. Oh, that's a little. Well, today's what, the 16th? Okay.
Yeah, that's next Saturday.
Okay. Moms for Moms is November 23rd. That's a week. That's next Sunday. Christmas movie night. Y'all like the Santa Claus? Tim Allen?
Yes.
That's a cute movie, isn't it? Okay. December 6th, 6 p.m. is Christmas movie night at the Family Life Center on the lawn. It says, grab your blankets and chairs. If it's as warm as it is now, you might need a fan. Let's see here. Appreciation potluck, December 7th. That's for Jonathan Swirsky. As they get ready to go into the, I guess it's the Mishville. He's starting a church. So anyway, that's in, I believe it's in Plum Grove. But
December 9th is our Christmas party at Alice's.
December 9th is our Christmas party at Alice's. And that's where we're gathering together at what time? 11 a.m. Okay. And we'll just party until Alice says get out. Okay. Or Dawn. Well, I remember reading one time, it said that, you're getting old. Excuse me here. When you can still paint the town red, but it's a long time till you apply a second coat. Anyway, that's the announcements. I don't know if anything else that's going on. Anybody else? No? Okay. Well, y'all want to get into the lesson? Okay. We've got this Sunday, and then we've got 2 more Sundays, and we'll be through with Deuteronomy. And starting in December, we'll start in Matthew. And from what I saw, it looks like they broke Matthew up into 2 parts. And so we'll probably do that for 2 quarters, the winter of 25 and the spring of 26. So, and then if we follow suit, I imagine we'll go into Joshua. But you know what? Johnny Beast doesn't know how these guys are playing this thing. So I just try to look ahead and plan accordingly. Or know accordingly. I don't know if I ever plan. Do I ever plan, babe? Yeah, okay. Okay. So, well, there's a positive note. Sometimes I do something that's a little more than off the cuff. All righty. Well, tell you what, since we're getting close to the end of Deuteronomy, let's do a quick pick here, or a quick check here, because Deuteronomy is the final book of the books of Moses. The Torah, the law, in fact, Deuteronomy is known as the second law. Y'all know what's known as the second law? Back in Exodus, we had the first law, right? Where we had the 10 Commandments there at Mount Sinai, and we had the calf there and all that, okay? So, and then Leviticus, we got a little bit more down to brass tacks as to how to live and what made clean and unclean, and the sacrificial system that God gave the Israelites. But, so Deuteronomy, though, you remember, we're in the 40th year of the wandering. So we're in the final year before the Israelites are finally, God's going to say, you can go now. He said, I've given it to you. I'm giving it to you, but you're going to have to take it. So, that's kind of like life, though, isn't it? I remember my first job. I was made aware that they were hiring. I'd been a year at business school with Massey Business College, learning to be a programmer, only to find out that I didn't want to be a programmer. A lot of life is finding out not necessarily what you want to do, but finding out what you don't want to do. And the reason I say that is I feel like I was called into IT. And the reason I say that is because I was meeting with a science teacher in 7th grade. The high school and junior high at that time were together. I went to Ross Sterling High School in Houston. So anyway, I was meeting with a teacher on the high school side to ask him some questions, and there was these pieces of paper laying all around. I picked one up, and it had painting, carpentry, plumber, electrician. I'm going, oh, they had a job fair. And so as I was going down the list, painter, no. Carpentry, no. Electrician, no. Plumber, no. And it came to EDP, electronic data processing. I was going, air-conditioned work? Yeah. But anyway, but I did. I felt the calling. I oriented myself to gear myself towards that. But anyway, a lot of life is finding out not necessarily what you want to do, but necessarily what you really don't want to do. And sometimes we have to still do what we don't want to do, unless you're rich enough to hire it out. So, boy, that's a long way to get to this. Anyway, but let's do a quick check on Abraham, because Abraham is where this starts for the Israelites, isn't it? I mean, Genesis starts with creation, and we get the fall of man, but where the story really starts picking up is Abraham. You know, in chapter 11, Terah takes Abraham's wife Sarah, his nephew Lot, and they start traveling west and then they stop in a little town called Haran, and they stop there, and that's as far as Terah gets. And he dies there in Terah. But in chapter 12, we hear this. God calls Abram, and he tells him to come to a land that he will show him. He says, and God makes this promise to Abram. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great. And you will be a blessing. I will bless those who bless you. I will curse anyone who treats you with contempt. And all the peoples on earth will be blessed through you. Abram hears God's call. And in verse 7, God promises Abraham as this. He adds some more detail because he's already said he's going to make a great nation. So, but you know, where's this great nation going to be? And they're at Canaan. And to Abram, God promises, to your offspring, I will give this land. Trish, I forgot to bring my water bottle. Would you bring it to me, please? And so, as we continue this, you know, we have that one night, and I'm just going over the highlights here where God is calling Abram. But we have these verses in chapter 15. God tells Abram that his offspring will be as numerous as the stars, and that they will take possession of the land. And he confirms this. Remember, Abram split all these animals in half: a bull, a goat, a ram, and the smoking fire pot and the blazing torch passed between all these animals. And that is the covenant God makes. And God is the one who's responsible for the covenant. Abraham has responded in faith so far, going to the land and taking God at his word that, hey, I'm going to make you a great nation. I'm going to make your name famous. I'm going to give you this land. And so anyway, and in chapter 17, verses 4 through 8, he says, as for me, this is God speaking, as for me, here is my covenant with you. You will become the father of many nations. Your name will no longer be Abram. Your name will be Abraham. We are changing the name or God is changing Abram's name to Abraham. This is to confirm the covenant. For I will make you the father of many nations. And that's what Abraham meant. Great father, okay? And I will make you extremely fruitful and will make nations and kings come from you. I will confirm my covenant that is between me and you and your future offspring throughout their generations. It is a permanent covenant to be your God and the God of your offspring after you. And to you and your future offspring I will give the land where you are residing, all the land of Canaan. He was just a resident there. They hadn't taken possession of land. If you remember, it's Abraham now. Abraham, Sarah, I guess their name changed to Sarah. And it's Abraham, Sarah, and their household. It's not very big. They don't even have a son yet. And to you and your future offspring I will give the land where you are residing, all the land of Canaan, as a permanent possession, and I will be their God. And as a sign of the covenant, God tells Abraham to circumcise himself and all the male children in his household, whether they're they were born in there, or whether and this includes, they did have a son, Ishmael, but that's not the son of the promise. So they're circumcised, and all the servants are circumcised. And then we know the ultimate test. In Genesis 22nd, Isaac's been born. He's probably a teenager. And God tells Abraham, take Isaac, your son, go to a mountain I'm going to show you, and offer him up as a burnt offering. Abraham doesn't ask any questions. He just obeys. And he has bound Abraham. He's bound Isaac. They have put together an altar. They have gathered the wood. He binds up Isaac. He pulls the knife, and he is just about to plunge the knife into the chest of Isaac. And God says, Abraham, Abraham. Abraham says, here I am. He says, don't harm the son. And Abraham lifts his eyes up, and there's a ram. God has provided a substitute for Isaac. Picture of Jesus to come, the substitute for us. Don't harm the son. And he says this, 22 verses 16 through 18. Because myself I have sworn, this is the Lord's declaration, because you have done this thing and have not withheld your only son, I will indeed bless you and make your offspring as numerous as the stars of the sky and the sand on the seashore. Your offspring will possess the city gates of their enemies, and all the nations of the earth will be blessed by your offspring, because you have obeyed my command. God swears by himself because there's nothing greater to swear by, is there? No one greater to swear by. God is going to fulfill his promise to Abraham from Genesis 12, where he says, I'm going to make you into a great nation. Now, you know what to me a great nation is? It's rich, it's populous, and it's powerful. I'm going to make you into a great nation, Abraham. I'm going to make your great name. You're going to be famous. And your offspring will take possession of the land of Canaan. Why? Because he's been obedient. God had already made that promise. And Abraham had obeyed. Abraham acted in faith. He didn't respond to earn this. He responded because God told him to. Here we are, 400 years later, at this point. The end of 40 years of wandering in the wilderness. 40 years after the Egyptians have been, the mightiest nation on that earth at that time, Egypt. God took them down. The slaves, 2 million slaves freed at one time. God has kept his promise. Remember, he told Abraham that that's going to happen. It's going to be 400 years. Your offspring are going to be in slavery, but I'm going to free them. And here we are, 400 years later. We are the second time at the gateway to enter into the promised land. But these children are going to take God at his word, and they are, maybe, I don't know if they're going to, if they're ready to go and they're acting on faith, or if they're just tired of wandering in the wilderness, saying, we're going to go, we're going. You know, there's been times I've given up. okay, whatever. Okay, I'm going to do it, I'm going to act on faith. So is that acting on faith? It has to be. Because if because there are times when it doesn't matter how tired you are, if you don't believe in it, you're not going to work, you're not going to act on it. It doesn't matter how tired you are. Anyway, so here we are, 400 years later, God is in the process, they're on the brink of God fulfilling his promise. And remember here in Deuteronomy that Moses is speaking to the new generation. The old generation is dead. Moses is the last one that's remaining of that generation. Here we are 40 years later, and he's making sure as best he can that these people know God's law. He is relaying God's word to them. Whatever God says, Moses is faithful to respond in that way. He's faithful to respond that way, that this is God's law. And it's not just for this side of the Jordan, it's for the other side when he finally gets settled in. It's time for y'all to get in there. And they know Moses isn't going with them. Aaron's already died. Eleazar has taken his place as the next high priest. And Moses has been relaying to the people, this is how you are to live. Remember what God told the children, be holy because I am holy. So he's calling them to a lifestyle. They know they're chosen, don't they? They believe they're chosen. Let's act like we're chosen. Let's live like we're chosen. Let's not just remember who we are, let's remember whose we are. My name is Reuben Johnny Meese Jr. That is my full legal name. I have been a Meese since September 11th, 1953, when I was born and named. And I will always be a Meese, no matter what. I will die a Meese. I remember living in my dad's house, under my dad's roof. I didn't have anything to worry about. Dad provided what we needed. We had a roof over our head. We had clothes. We had shoes. We had food. We had water. We had electricity, gas, running water, and we had sewage. I didn't lack for anything. And you know why my dad provided that? Because I was his son. I was his son. I was raised to respect my elders, to not sass my mom and dad, don't talk back. I only did it once and I got spanked for it, okay? About 5th grade, I remember my dad, actually about 4th grade, it took me about a year to get everything in gear, but my dad said, he knew he knew my motivation. He said, Johnny, and he talked to my brother too, George, he said, for every A y'all make on your report cards, you get a quarter. Whoa. So every 6 weeks, you know what I started doing from that day? I started studying. I started doing the things that my dad expected of me. And you know what? My dad made sure we had the tools necessary to be successful in school. He provided us with paper, pencil, pens, binders, glue, whatever. Encyclopedia. We had our own set of encyclopedias. We had dictionaries and a thesaurus and whatever we needed to be successful in school, my dad provided. And from about 5th grade on, I made straight A's. I graduated 2nd in my class. Salute. It was out here. I was in the first graduating class of Huffman High School. Everybody there before 71 graduated from Humble. I was in the first graduating class and I was the first salutatorian. I only missed by being valedictorian by about that much. I was close. And I got a little irritated. But you know what? My dad gave us what we needed to be successful. And you know why? Because I was a Meese. I was his son. I never had to worry about a thing. And you know what I did? I did. I sassed my mom back one time. I never sassed my dad back. But along the way, there were some extra blessings. My dad provided what we needed, but you know what? We got some great Christmas presents. I got a microscope one year. I got a chemistry set one year. I got a telescope. I could see the stars. I got an electric set one time. My dad was trying to encourage me, move in the direction. My parents, I didn't even think about getting a driver's license. But when I turned 15, my dad and mom paid for me to be in driver's ed. So I took driver's ed. I got my learner's permit. And they paid for me to get my license when I turned 16. They paid for the insurance so that I could be on their insurance. Shortly after I turned 16, we went over towards, I believe it was Sugar Land. And my dad's looking at a 10-year-old 1960 Chevy Biscayne. I figured he was just on one of his, my dad was a horse trader. I mean, I'll give you an example. There was a guy came into an auto parts store one time where my dad was, and this was back in Reno just a few years back. Anyway, I say a few, it's been a lot now. But this guy come in, he's mad. I'd give this truck I'd give my old truck to the first guy who gave me $500 for it. My dad went out there and looked at it. He come back outside, would you take $400? Guy said, yeah, I'll take $400 cash. My dad had $400 on, bought the truck, put some miracle oil, that's Marvel Mystery Oil, poured it in the crankcase, or not in the crank, I guess in the crankcase, and whatever was ailing it, that fixed it. He drove that thing for about 3 years and he sold it for $1,000. And when I've been talking to my dad, that's not the first time he started that when he was 8, and when he was 16 and 17, he bought a car for 50, sold it for 100. And it wasn't even running when he sold it. Anyway, so I figured we're on a horse trading trip. I drive the family car back home. He drives the Biscayne. We get home and he hands me the key. I was floored. It was great to be Reuben Johnny Meese Jr. Because not only were my needs met, I was blessed. I was truly blessed. All that to say this. The children of Israel had everything provided for them. Yes, they had to wait 40 years as they wandered in the wilderness because their parents had rebelled against God and refused to enter. And then when they did try to enter, they tried to enter on their own power instead of God's power, and it cost them. But God provided everything they needed, the water, the food. Moses later in Deuteronomy says, your shoes never wore out, your clothes never wore out in the last 40 years y'all been wandering. God's been taking care of y'all. It's good to be an Israelite. But they didn't recognize it, did they? But God provided everything for them and blessed them now with the land that they're fixing to enter. Moses has been telling them, relaying to them, this is God's law from God himself. I'm just the messenger. I'm just the leader. I'm just relaying it to you. God chose me to do this. I'm going to do it. And God's been telling them how to live, what he expects of his children. My parents relayed to me what was expected. They didn't go verbally, but I knew from being raised up that I was expected not to sass my mom and dad. I think I probably did it when I was a couple of years old. That cost me. I don't remember all that. But I do remember that I grew up and I didn't sass my mom and dad, at least not consciously. And I did everything that, it was just expected. It was just expected of me. And I thought, I guess I thought that's reasonable, because I didn't object to it. I didn't say, well, I can't wait to leave this place. I'm getting out of here. In fact, when I did leave, my mom cried. I left because I wanted to strike out on my own. I wanted to make sure Johnny Meese could do it. But anyway, and God says, this is how I expect you to live. I expect you to live a holy life because you're mine. I have chose you. I have redeemed you from Egypt. I have provided for you. I have protected you. You are mine. You will always be mine. This is how I expect you to live. And so now we get to chapter 28. And Moses, let's start with chapter 28, verses 1 through 6. It's on page 102, Deuteronomy 28, verses 1 through 6. Now, boy, when my mom or dad said now, that was a time to pay attention. Okay? Now, if you faithfully obey the Lord your God and are careful to follow all his commands I am giving you today, if you are faithful, now, if you faithfully obey the Lord your God and are careful to follow all his commands I am giving you today, the Lord your God will put you far above all the nations of the earth. All these blessings will come and overtake you because you obey the Lord your God. You will be blessed in the city and blessed in the country. Your offspring will be blessed, and your land's produce, and the offspring of your livestock, including the young of your herds and the newborn of your flocks. Your basket and kneading bowl will be blessed. You will be blessed when you come and blessed when you go out. The typical covenant, God's making a covenant with the people. And a covenant is basically a contract. If this, then this. God's promised to the land that they're going to enter it and take it. We know that from history. God's promised them that he's provided for them. And God says, but there's more. If you'll just obey me, if you'll faithfully follow my commands that I'm giving you today, I will elevate you like no other nation's ever seen. Who would believe the United States has been blessed? We are not. I think we're coming to an if-then statement these days, aren't we? God has blessed our nation. We are a superpower still, the only superpower right now. Russia, is broken up. China, oh good grief, it's bidding to be a superpower. I don't think it's a superpower. The people as a whole, you've got the rich and the poor. And that's it. I don't think there's a middle class in China. Anyway, God says, if you'll obey me, if you'll live this holy life as a nation, I will elevate you to a point that the nations will look up to you. They will stand in awe of how great you've become. He says, my blessings will come and overtake you. We've all passed cars and trucks on the freeway, haven't we? That doesn't occur by accident, does it? I know on our last trip to Tulsa, there was a time we were doing 85 and 90 miles an hour. Okay, we were overtaking somebody. We were doing what? We were doing the speed limit. We weren't. Trish normally didn't go over the speed limit unless we had to overtake somebody. We come upon somebody doing 60 or 65. We want to do 80. That's the speed limit. So Trish makes a decision. I'm not going to do 60. I want to do 80. And so she chases them, overtakes them. It doesn't, and that's what God is saying here. You obey me. My blessings, they're not just going to be passive. They'll actually chase after you. Have you ever been chased by a blessing? Have you ever been chased by a blessing? We've got 3 kids. Our third one, I'll say, was unplanned on our part, but that was a blessing. My daughter, our daughter, that is a blessing that chased us, didn't it, Trish? That it may have been unplanned on our part, but God, it was no accident. God knew exactly what he was doing. I can't imagine our family without her. We've been blessed with grandchildren. That is a blessing that chased us and overtook us. We figured we would have grandchildren at some point in time. We've got 9 of them. Now we've got 2 great-grandchildren. And I'm sure y'all might have more or less, but you know, oh goodness. God's blessings have overtaken us. God's blessings have chased me and Trish and overtaken 52 years together. I always make a joke. There's still some people who are saying it ain't going to last. You know? But you know, I've known Trish and I know a couple after 25 years, they called it quits. Raised their kids, and after 25 years, they called it quits. Not exactly sure what happened. From what I understand, she fell in love with somebody else. He didn't want the divorce, but she fell in love with somebody else and wanted out. I will say, you know, I haven't always lived a holy lifestyle, but there was a point that I finally decided I really do want to pursue God. I want to live that holy lifestyle. And I really didn't think about it. Well, I'll tell you, the reason I thought about that was because I knew some of the people that I ran around with, their lives were going to hell. They were their lifestyles were such, between the drinking and the carousing around, if they weren't getting a divorce, I figured that wouldn't be too much longer before they did. I didn't want that. I didn't want that lifestyle for my kids. You know what I wanted for my kids? I wanted a lifestyle for them that I had. I wanted to be able to provide for them. I wanted to provide the necessities, you know, the roof over their head, clothing, shoes, food, water, you know. I didn't want them to have to worry about anything. I didn't have to worry about anything as a child. And it's bad when the child worries about, are we going to eat tonight? It's sad, isn't it? Are we going to lose our power? Trish was telling me one time, she said, every time the water guy showed up on our street, somebody goes, well, I wonder if it's my house today. And Trish always knew one thing. If the electricity guy, water guy, or gas guy showed up, it wasn't for our house. She didn't have to worry about that. And our kids didn't either. We didn't worry about our house being repossessed, being evicted out of it. God, and that's all God. That's all I got to say, because we weren't always making a ton of money. We're not making a ton of money now. But God always provided for us. He's always provided for us. And we've had some great blessings. We have. So anyway, that's what God is saying here. You know, I want you to live holy. I've called you to that lifestyle. You're my children. Remember who you are. Remember whose you are. And live this lifestyle. And what is the lifestyle that he called them to? No other gods before me. No graven images. No idols. Don't bow down to them. Don't use my name in vain. Don't casually use my name. You know what really rankles me sometimes? OMG. Oh my God. And they just toss it out there. That rankles me. That is casually using God's name. And we were on I was on a sponsor on a mission trip one time. And we're coming back, and I'd been listening to these kids, and there was an oh my God, OMG. And I finally started talking to them. I said, guys, have y'all ever considered that you're taking God's name in vain? And I don't think they had ever really considered it. I said, you're casually using God's name. Using God's name is not necessarily cussing. It's just using it as everyday speech. God's name is not everyday speech. And I believe it made an impact on them. Because, if we don't stop to think about things sometimes, life just rolls on, and next thing you know, you're in the gutter. It can be bad. And sometimes I've had friends look back and say, how in the world did we get here? Well, it started by taking something and using it casually. But God says, if you'll, observe my Sabbath, don't work on the Sabbath, if you'll honor your mom and dad, love your neighbors as yourself, and do it, is God rewarding? Is he paying the Israelites to be good? As like I said, as Reuben Johnny Meese Jr., I lived how I will say this. To me, looking back, it amazed me how my speech cleaned up when I entered into my mom and dad's house. I would speak one way around my friends, but when I got to mom and dad's house and I entered that door, that speech was unacceptable. It was not tolerated. Johnny Meese had his mouth washed out as a young kid more than once, I promise you. But I knew that my speech that I used around my friends just to try and fit in with them was not acceptable at home. I lived how am I running out of time, babe? I lived how I expected my parents expected me to live. God expects me to live in a certain way. I'm his child. I have believed in Jesus Christ as my Lord and Savior. God called me, he chose me, and then he gave me the faith to believe. That faith didn't come in and out of Johnny Meese. That faith came from God. The love that Trish and I have for each other for 52 years, God gave it to us for each other. God expects me to live faithfully to Trish. He expects me to live faithfully to him and faithfully to my family. And I've done it. And the blessings that I've got were because, I'll be honest, sometimes I was thinking, Lord, I've been tithing. I really expect a break here. But you know what? God says, when you live for me, you live with the right attitude, you live with the right motive, and when you have the right actions. So the question becomes now, why do I tithe? Is it because I feel obligated to? Because God says, a tenth of give me back a tenth of your offer of what I've given you? Okay? Or do I give it back because, God, I'm really truly thankful for what you have given me? Different motive altogether, isn't it? Why do I live the way I live? Is it out of gratitude or because is God going to pay Johnny Meese to be good? Or is he going to bless Johnny Meese because Johnny Meese loves God first? Because Johnny Meese loved God, because God loved him first enough to send his only son. Because he had Jesus die for my sins and then raised him from the dead so that I could have eternal life with him. So why is my response? And that's something we all have to answer to honestly. Why? You know, I pointed out about the oil last Sunday, right? About all the oil all of y'all that brought. I don't know how much we brought. I think we had already exceeded our goal, and now I know from the text that we received after Sunday school, we exceeded it even further. Why did we give that oil? Was it because, God, I know you expect this of me, so that's why I'm giving it. Not because I love you, but because that's what you expect. So do I feel obligated, compelled to give? Because if I'm doing that, that's not truly giving, is it? That's extortion. Why am I giving? Why do I live the life I live? It's because God loved me first. And that's what God is calling here for the Israelites. Live holy because I'm holy. I'm giving you the example to live. I'm giving you the rules to live by. But live because I love you so much. I just want you to love me back. And if if I love Trish, I'm going to act like I love her. If I truly love Trish, I'm going to act like I truly love her, aren't I? I'm not going to do the things intentionally to hurt her. I'm not going to do the things that will break her heart. And I'm not going to do the things to break God's heart. I'm not going to do the things that cause God's pain, cause God to grieve over Johnny Meese. And that's what God called. He says, I'm going to bless you. I didn't earn that car that my parents gave me. I didn't earn any of those gifts. And I didn't earn any of the necessities that my dad and mom provided for us. I didn't earn any of that. They gave that because they loved me. And God's given me the gifts he's given me because he loves me. And you talk about the blessings. He said, you'll be blessed. He said, pick wherever you want to live in Canaan. You want to live in the city? I'll bless you there. You want to live in the country? I'll bless you there. He says, your produce, your land that you sow the seed in, it's going to produce crops. I'm going to give you rain in the right season, in the right amount. I'm going to give you the right amount of sun. He says, your livestock, your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren, they're all going to be blessed. You're going to receive blessings you can't believe. Your bread, but everybody knows what a cornucopia is, right? The horn of plenty. We've all seen the pictures here, especially at, hey, Don. Howdy. The basket back then symbolized, especially if it was full, the basket, was full of fruit and vegetables and all kinds of stuff. I mean, that's God's blessing, the horn of plenty, right? And God says, your basket's going to be full. When you come back from your garden, it's going to be full of stuff for you to eat. It's going to be good. He says, the bread, you're going to have plenty of grain. You're going to be able, your kneading bowl will be, you'll be able to make bread. You'll have enough grain to make bread. Daily bread, in the Lord's Prayer, give us this day our daily bread. That's God's blessing upon us. He said, not only will you have the materials to make bread, but you'll be in safety and security. You'll have time to make bread. Remember, when they left Egypt, they didn't have time to wait for the bread to rise. So they had to pack it up and go. God says, you're going to have time. You're going to be safe and secure. You will be blessed when you come. You'll be blessed when you go. So I've often said, there's been times I said, I don't know if I'm coming or going. But you know what? If you're living for God, it doesn't matter. You're blessed. All aspects of your life will be blessed. All aspects of it. Just follow after me. However, let's go to verses, and if you read between verses 6 and 15, and it's interesting, it's verses 1 through 14, God's blessing is enumerated on the children of Israel. Verses 15 through 68. 54 verses are the curses. And if you read from verse 20 on, then the passage this day is 28:15 through 19. If you'll read 20 through the end of the chapter, there is some bad stuff that's going to happen to the Israelites if they don't live after God. It says, okay, so 28:15 through 19, page 105. But if you do not obey the Lord your God by carefully following all his commands and statutes I'm giving you today, all these curses will come and overtake you. Not only, living for God, the blessings will chase after you. Not living for God, curses will come and chase you. You will be cursed in the city and cursed in the country. It doesn't matter where you live. You'll never be safe. You'll never be secure. You'll always be looking over your shoulder. You will be cursed in the city and cursed in the country. Your basket and kneading bowl will be cursed. You come back from your garden, your basket's going to be empty. You'll get to your kneading bowl for the bread. Will you have enough to make any bread? Will you have time to make the bread? Your offspring will be cursed, and your land's produce, the young of your herds and the newborn of your flocks. You will be cursed when you come in and cursed when you go out. All aspects of your life are going to be troublesome. You won't have enough. And when you read verses 20 through the end of the chapter, if they persist in this long enough, their bodies will develop sores. And if their bodies are excuse me. If their bodies have sores, remember the people with leprosy could not enter into the temple, could they? People with impure bodies could not enter into the sanctuary there, the worship area of God there, and inside the what?
Tabernacle.
The tabernacle. Thank you. Is losing your memory a sign of being cursed? No. Anyway. But they won't be able to enter into the tabernacle. Their impure bodies will keep them from being in the community. Remember the woman with the blood issue who touched Jesus' robe there on the way for Jairus' daughter? All she wanted to do was touch his, but she was unclean. She could not go into the temple. She couldn't go into the tabernacle. If she touched somebody, they would have to go wash themselves, and they wouldn't be able to be back into the community until after evening, after sunset. You'll be ostracized, and you keep at it long enough, you'll lose the land. People will come and take you. You will live in exile. And we know that happened, didn't we? The Assyrians came first and took the first 10 tribes in the northern kingdom. And then the Babylonians came and took Judah and Benjamin, the last 2 tribes. And God, so what is the purpose of the blessings is to encourage us to live for God, isn't it? What's the purposes of the curses? Sometimes Johnny Meese needs discipline. I do remember that one time when I really made my dad mad. He had an Elvis Presley 45, and it was Don't Break My Heart in Two. Because I think it was right after he got out of Germany, because it had a kind of German sound to it. But anyway, He played that song over and over and over and over and over. And he was fixing to play it again. And I picked the record up off the turntable and I broke it over my knee. So I did sass my dad back one time. The discipline was swift and it was certain. I never did anything like that again. Never. The purpose of that was to bring Johnny Meese back in line. You don't do that with your dad. The purposes of these curses is to bring us back to God. We always have the opportunity to turn back. To turn back to God, to return to Him. And even as Christians, there's times that we fall into sin, isn't there? But what does the Bible say? If we will confess our sins and repent, God will, and He is just to forgive. God is faithful. You know, when I was reading that part about the blessings and curses will chase after you, I remembered Psalm 23. It's near the end, it says where, you know, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. But there at the end, He says, surely goodness and mercy will follow me. And that word follow is better translated, will chase after me. Surely goodness and mercy will chase after me and overtake me. All the sheep has to do is what? Be obedient. As long as he is being led by the shepherd, and he stays in the shepherd, the shepherd will take care of him. He'll protect him, he'll feed him, he'll water him. If he needs medical attention, the shepherd will take care of him. The shepherd will provide for him. But it's when the sheep wanders out of the care of the shepherd, that's when the sheep is in danger, isn't it? When we're in the center of God's care, God takes care of us. When we're obedient, we live that lifestyle. But when we wandered out, that's when we fall in danger. So, let me say this. Let's remember who we are. Let's remember whose we are. And let's live accordingly. Let's close with a word of prayer. Our Father, thank you for this day and thank you for your blessings. Thank you for this lesson. Father, may we always remember that you are with us. Help us to be aware that you are always with us, that we are always your child. Father, help us to live like we are. And may we reflect that lifestyle that brings glory to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. Prayer requests. I don't have the